You're listening to the Successful Mind Podcast.
Successful people learn how to make their minds work for them. I'm David Nagel, and this is the Successful Mind Podcast. Hey everybody, David Nagel here. Welcome to another episode of the Successful Mind Podcast. Today I've got a very special treat for you. I have Sara and Hisham Khaki. They are previous clients of mine and just rock in the world with the success that they have in their life. And I'm going to ask them to say who they are and a little bit about what they do. So which one of you beautiful people want to go first?
Ladies first.
I will let my beautiful wife, Sara, go first.
Thank you. I'm Sara Khaki. I'm the founding partner of Atlanta Divorce Law Group. And what I'm most proud of is I'm the mother of 3 little children and the wife of Hisham Khaki. And through the divorce firm, I am not only able to find adventures and support the vision of our family, but I'm also able to challenge other family members to do the same for themselves in the community.
That's fantastic. Hisham?
All right, my name is Hisham Khaki. I am the founder of ShiftSwap. I am the husband of my beautiful wife, Sara, father of 3 beautiful children, and just excited to be part of this podcast just to share how you, David, you and your teachings have really helped us, most importantly, fulfill our desires, which has led us to impact in the lives of many people through our respective businesses.
Yeah,
So it's been an amazing journey.
Well, you guys did the work. So that's the main key, right? It's if a person will do the work, they can get there. Why don't you start off by telling us where you were when you met me and what was going on for you that prompted you to even, start to look down this road of having me help you guys out.
I was working on my first law firm, the Khaki Law Firm, which was a whole different practice area. And Hisham was in the corporate world, and he was basically through his single paycheck, not only funding our household, but supporting me keeping this business going. And I was very frustrated, very competitive, but felt every day that I was a loser. And I was competing with everything and anything and not feeling like I was winning at anything. And I was really at my wit's end with not feeling like I was successful, feeling so far behind from where I thought I would be in that point in my professional career. And I was just half, and everything in life. I didn't feel like I was supporting Hisham properly, emotionally, and with his vision for us, because I was too drained. I look at pictures back from before we met you in 2015, because we met you in 2016. And I look at those pictures and I'm like, was with my babies. And I'm like, was I even present? Hisham has shown me baby pictures of our kids when they were younger, or 2 younger ones. And he's like, look how cute they are. And I look at it and I'm like, they're so cute, but where was I? Because I don't even see a present woman in there. I was in a great law firm coaching program, How to Manage a Small Law Firm, which the founder of. You coached him, Arjon Robbins, as well. And, by all means, I was doing all the things in there and doing them well. And the program was incredible. But the biggest problem was for me, none of the technical steps, none of the business masterminding was doing anything, because I was so unaware of my own patterns. And I was so unaware of my internal sabotage program, because I think I was just dead set on working hard. That was the only answer I had to anything, is just work harder. If Hisham's unhappy, work harder. If something's wrong with the kids, you work harder. If the law firm is not profitable, work harder. And I wouldn't even take a minute to look outside of it. And truth be told, to be very transparent, why did I look you up? Why did I, bring this up to Hisham? Is because people that I was in my mind competing with in the law firm space were working with you. And all of a sudden, like in a few months, they're reporting these crazy numbers. So it came from my own pattern, my even dysfunctional pattern of seeking you out. It was from a place of, I got to win. They're winning. I got to compete. They're using him. I'm going to use him. And then that obviously turned out to be a joke on me, but in a great, great way.
That's amazing. Out of the competition. That's fantastic. Yes. Hisham, how about you?
Oh, so back in 2016, I think the best way I could explain where I was in life was I was a corporate robot. I mean, you remember me, David. I was relatively high up in a company. I was a VP of ops. I was one of the youngest people to be promoted. I had been climbing the corporate ladder year after year, promotion after promotion. Every Monday morning, I'd be at Atlanta airport, flying out, wouldn't come home until Friday evening, completely drained. And one morning I woke up and I just kept envisioning, when I'm on my deathbed, is this really, am I going to be happy with how I spent my life? Maybe I'll be a CEO of a big company, and all of this, but was it all worth it? And Sarah and I knew probably a couple years after we got married, we knew that we wanted something different. We didn't really know how we were going to get there, but we knew we both wanted our freedom. And Sarah was the first person to go off on her own. And as she mentioned, we worked really hard to get that up. And then we met you, and the rest really has been history. And we continue to grow, but we live an amazing life that really, it fulfills our vision and our purposes in life.
Now, was your first event with me the Art of Success?
No, our first event with you was the universal laws, the 7 or 10 universal laws. And you came to Atlanta, and I have a freaky memory. It was February of 2016, but you had that recorded series of this different area laws, and we started listening to it. Remember?
Yeah, I mean, it was crazy. I mean, we had never encountered anything that just was mind blowing to us, and we were just taking notes and listening and taking notes and listening. Asking, I mean, again, David, you remember? I mean, we would just get up, ask questions, sit down, go back.
I do remember that. Yeah, I do remember.
Hisham would be at one mic, I'd be at the other mic, and I mean, if nobody was going to get up, we were going to take over. But we did go plenty. We've gone to probably 4 or 5 of your Art of Success summits, and it's just every time we do, it's a whole nother level.
Yeah, isn't that interesting? Like the more you grow, you hear things completely different. It takes you to a totally different place. One of the things that you said, Sarah, was your answer to everything, which was basically your strategy, was to work harder. How difficult was it for you to learn that success was actually easier?
It was very difficult, and I still catch myself there. And I think that's like one of the biggest things I want people to hear, and myself to hear as I'm saying it, is, people, work with the best of the best like you. And it doesn't mean that your pattern goes away. It just brings awareness to the pattern. And then next time you catch it faster and faster, I'm aware that's my pattern. And I'm aware that instinctually, that's the first place I want to go to. And the difference is it was harder back then to not depend on that pattern, because I didn't have faith and trust yet that something different would work. That had worked for me my entire life, right? Like I had been a star student. I had married the man of my dreams. I had gone to law school, all that had been happening based on the fact that I will outwork anybody around me, and till it didn't work anymore. But I didn't have faith in any other operating system until I met you. And your powerful words to us over and over again was, have faith in my faith in you. And I did that for a while. Like, I just was breaking all of my own patterns and my own instincts, which my instincts would have told me work harder, and went with what you put in front of us. And then now I have complete trust in that system. And so does Hisham, because we have seen the results of it since 2016 over and over again. Has that proven itself that working harder is not the answer? Actually, once you are in alignment with your vision and your purpose and your desire, it all comes with grace. And because of that proving itself over and over again, it is now easier to let go of the pattern. It doesn't mean the pattern doesn't show up. I mean, just like a few weeks ago, Hisham had to remind me, he's like, hey, listen, like, working harder is not the solution. I'm like, yep, I hear you.
It's interesting because, and I love hearing people tell their personal stories about that, because when I started to get my head on straight initially in my early 20s, my approach was to work harder, right? Work harder than everybody else, work harder than I ever had. And it worked within the structure of business where that's kind of set up as the premise in order to be able to get ahead in life. Work harder, compete, beat the next guy, do that. And then you hit this wall where it's like diminishing returns. It's not going any further. And you're trying to figure out what the hell's actually happening, not realizing that one shift in the way that you're viewing your world, or you're viewing, the universe, so to speak, will allow you to open a completely different door and like rocket ship up to a totally different level with, like you said, with grace, with ease and grace. Like it's actually not difficult. It wasn't meant for us to be difficult. It was meant for us to be easy. Success is easy. Success is your birthright. You're supposed to have exactly what you want in this life to fulfill the purpose of why it is that you're here. But we're taught just the opposite of that. And it's amazing how it keeps amazing people down to a level that most people never see their way out of. They stay there their whole life. So how about Hisham? How was it for you?
So,
because you didn't even have your business at that time.
No, I was still in corporate America. I had a dream. There was a plan to start something at some point. But my biggest problem was, and I think this plagues a lot of men out there, is the word desire, for a man is almost like you're not supposed to have that.
Yeah.
Right? A lot of us are raised, you squash that and you work hard and you put food on the table, and that's that. And I remember at one point I stood up and I can't remember exactly what I asked you, but you said, what do you want? And I just stared at you and I had no idea how to answer. I think I just said something that didn't make any sense just to ease the tension. And you looked at me, like literally you looked through me and you're like, what do you want? And this went back and forth and you wouldn't let me sit down. And I was just frozen because I couldn't, in my head, I was like, what do you mean? What do I want? What I want is my family to be healthy. Like, I don't want anything. And little did I know is unlocking that and understanding that God works through our desire. Mm-hmm. Understanding that has enabled both of us to help so many other people that for me personally, I would have squashed it. I would have been, miserable in what I do. And I wouldn't have been able to impact so many people's lives if I wouldn't have said, basically, yes, I do want to go after my desires. So that was really the biggest eye opener when I first started talking to you, David.
How long? Go ahead, Sarah.
Sorry. Hisham, the other day to me, we were reflecting on a lot of things that are just going on in our society and culture. And he was like, a lot of these things are coming from men who have never been asked that what do you want? Have never had the opportunity to build a vision. And I mean, you said it much more beautifully than I can rephrase it, but like the lack of vision for men is so become so harmful to
Yeah.
our culture and society. And we would have never realized that if we had not gone through this journey and realized how powerful that was for Hisham, and then him completely like understanding that and living by that now every day. It puts our entire family in alignment. It puts me in alignment. It puts our kids in alignment, and it gives me space to be fully like the full authentic version of myself. And that's just by following the vision of a man who has fully taken ownership of it and is going for it. And that has created so much space in our family, and just given us all so much more room to truly live our purpose.
Yeah, we're literally taught the opposite. I mean, and, Hisham, the way that you just described how I asked you what you wanted and how you reacted to that, that's how everybody I ask that question reacts, because we're taught we can't have what we want. We never consider that for our life. It's responsibility. What am I supposed to do? Who am I supposed to be? Never reclaiming the authority of our own mind. There are so many other voices of authority that reside in our head from the time we're infants. And today, with technology, the way that it is today, I think it's separating people from what they want even more, because you're constantly putting images and ideas and narratives in front of them that aren't theirs, but they're supposed to want these things in order to fit into society. So they numb themselves out even more, and they end up following things that they absolutely don't want to be part of, but they think that they have to. And they don't even realize that they're not taking authority over their own life, that all these other voices actually have authority over what they're, not just what they're listening to, but how they actually view life itself. So I agree with, like, if that's what you said, Hisham, about men, I totally agree with you 100%. They don't know what they want. They weren't raised to know what they want. They were raised to follow what somebody else wants, and they can't lead themselves and they can't lead their own family.
And it's crazy, because if you think about it, there are a lot of things we don't fully understand. We don't fully know about, why we're here and how everything's working. But one thing we do know is that we literally all have desire. Like that's the one thing we know, is that we have desire. So the fact that so many of us are trained to just squash it, it absolutely creates a big problem.
Right. And it's a global problem, right? It's not like anybody's got a corner on a breakthrough on this. You got pockets of it with people like myself and you guys. But most of the world is under the impression that we're not supposed to follow the desire of our heart. And it makes you wonder all the different, it's why people are so susceptible to crazy ideologies. Just to be frank about the whole thing, because they don't know who they are. And you have nothing in contrast of what you are to determine whether or not something makes sense or not. We look at everybody else. Do these people over here, does it make sense to them? Which side of the fence am I with these people or these people? And then that's what we're agreeing to, instead of, hey, wait, what is my own internal truth on this? And if you can't find that, the other thing that you can't find is the courage to stand up for it, right? You have to have the courage to be able to stand into. I remember when you came to me with your idea for the business, it was an amazing time, but also to see the look on your face that you're literally picking something. You found something that lights you up. It was an amazing time. It was an amazing experience.
Yes. Yeah. When I started really thinking about it, my passion, my purpose has always been to improve the lives of great warehouse workers. Literally, that's what I loved doing in my early days as an engineer. Then I became an ops leader, and I loved the look on people's faces, working these warehouses 60, 70, 80 hours a week, where you were able to provide them a good, positive work environment where they were able to achieve their dreams. And then breaking through with, your teachings enabled me to start a business to be able to help even more people and continue to help more people. And it makes me so happy. Like it I hear story after story of people, how their lives have improved because of the product my team has developed. And it's, how could life be better than that? I don't
Right.
know. I'm fulfilling my desires and I'm helping other people fulfill theirs.
Yeah. I think most people do not have any idea that their desire is not selfish in the way that they've heard it to be. That when they accept their desire, whatever it is that they really work on bringing to the surface, kind of stepping into the mastery of their desire, does nothing but benefit other people. It's all in benefit of service of other people. The difference is that you like what you're doing. You love it. You love working with those people, right? There's a connection there that the average person just can't explain, because the average person is not doing something that they want. Yeah, and here's another thing. The idea that when you ask somebody what they want, that they can't tell you because they can't justify it to themselves and they can't justify it to other people is so crazy, that a person can't sit there and go, I want this because I want it. They've got to figure out some excuse in order to say, this is what I want, because if I don't, I'm a selfish jerk, or I'm not thinking of other people, or, any narrative that somebody else would create about why it's not okay for you to have what you want, when actually it's the answer. It's the
David,
key.
I actually think I've kind of had this epiphany about it lately. I actually think that the narrative is don't follow your desire, because that would be the selfish thing to do. But I think the truth is that when you don't follow your desire, you're taking yourself too seriously. Because we put so much emphasis before we claim our desire or take ownership of it, that what if I got it wrong? What if it's the wrong desire? So there's this like putting so much value and emphasis on I have to be right? Instead of just going for it, because most likely whatever's showing up is only going to open up a door for the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. And that's what we both experienced in our journey. Like the initial desire that we claimed in 2016 only led us further and further. And now the vision has only grown bigger and it continues to grow. And we are very clear on the fact that whatever desires we have now are only meant to lead us to the next one. Now, but the other part of it also is, what if the desire you're following that you can't justify to anybody, you just have this desire, it isn't all about you? What if it's meant to be a piece of the larger puzzle of the universe, right? Like, I'll give this an example. 2017, at some point you had challenged us to, what is your unified vision? Like, we were sitting in front of you in your office in North Carolina. And I think it was like one of your smaller group sessions. And you looked at both of us, and I don't know if you remember this, but he said, do you guys have a unified vision? I think at that point we had like kind of cracked the code with my law firm. Hisham had figured out that he wants to go out on his own, but we were still like very much building mode. And we didn't have an answer for you. So we went out on our own for like a 2-day getaway that Hisham kind of designed for us and surprised me with. And he wouldn't let us leave the room. Now, let me tell you, it wasn't the worst of rooms. It was in the Versace mansion in Miami, because he knows my desires. And we were in that room for 2 days straight, building a unified vision. And one of the things that showed up for both of us was we want a life of adventure. And what does that mean to us was living abroad for the summers with our kids. We didn't sit and analyze like, why do we have to have this? We just knew that it was like a core value for our marriage to have adventure. So those summers abroad have now been happening for the past 3 or 4 summers. And we invite our family, we invite Hisham's parents, we invite my parents. They come with us. We invite my cousin, we invite his brother. And I actually believe that there may be one of our parents that is having a huge impact on, that we're playing a role in, our desires playing a role in, or maybe his brother, or maybe my cousin, or maybe our children down the line, or maybe one of the locals that we're making friends with. Who knows, right? But we've stopped, I think, taking ourselves so seriously that when a desire shows up, we think it's all about us. We actually now, I think this is like the next level of your teachings that's really coming into effect for us, that we're watching what is the ripple effect of us following our desires, even when we don't have the answer for why right now. And that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it cannot not affect somebody else.
Right.
Right. You're going to interact with something, you're going to buy something, you're going to give something, you're going to do something, you're going to experience. I mean, adventure is adventure, right? So it's so fantastic that that's awakened you, because so many people have lost the sense of adventure when our life should, be an amazing adventure. I remember Proctor said to me one time, he goes, selfishness is not living the life that you want. It's expecting other people to live the life that you want. And I was like, when he told me that, it was like my heart opened, because I kept hearing all these things about what I couldn't do because of other people, instead of what it was that I really wanted to do, and finding a way to do it. Even with, people wake up in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, or even later, and they've got a set of responsibilities in front of them that they've created. How do you get that ship moving in the right, in the right direction? And you cannot, everything that you guys are doing, you cannot help but benefit other people in a positive way on that journey. It's just impossible not to. You'll never know all the people that you benefit.
I remember one of the first formulas you gave us, because I think it was Hisham that went up to the mic and said, how do you know the difference between a want versus a desire? And I think he said a desire would only create more life. It would never take life away. And I think that's like such a great litmus test of knowing, wow, like this has such an impact larger than me.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. That's it. That's exactly what it does. It adds life. It adds life everywhere that you go, right? It's the more life concept. It's the idea of more life that Waddles talked about in The Science of Getting Rich. More life to all, less to none. And really, think about how the world would change if everybody started to grab onto that idea. Like the problems that we fight against would just dissolve. There's not a problem on this planet that we don't have the ability to solve. And when you think about that, that's really true. Just how crazy of an experience are we having, because people literally don't want to solve those problems. It's not that they can't. There's not a problem that we couldn't solve. But because of the way people think, we don't. And people suffer because of it. So it's an amazing thing. Now, I hear you're writing a book.
Yes, the book is complete. It will be coming out next month. It is basically taking your teachings and applying it to a lot of what I see in my clientele, which is divorced people who believe they are in a toxic relationship and want to use the divorce to get out of that toxic relationship. And from everything you've taught us is nobody has a hook on you unless you play a part in that. Nobody is able to be in a toxic relationship with you unless you participate in a toxic relationship with them. And so part of my purpose in the divorce firm, Atlanta Divorce Law Group, is actually to give people a hard stop before they go and quickly, based on momentum, get divorced. I don't believe that divorce papers will solve your relationship problems unless you do the internal work, right? And divorce can actually be incredibly transformative if you do the work, the internal work, and bring awareness and responsibility to your part in it. So this book is basically called Unhook the Narcissist, and your survival guide, whether you stay or you go. And we're not encouraging anybody to go, and we're not encouraging anybody to stay, but to make an empowered decision for themselves so that whoever they hire, whether they get divorced or not, they're not going from one toxic relationship to another because they're uncovering and questioning their own patterns. And it really, I think, is a great way to make people be informed consumers, not only of legal services, but hopefully also put them on the path of personal development and not use the divorce as one thing to another, but truly a transformation, or hopefully, best case scenario, transform the marriage. Because what if they're not even in a toxic relationship, but they're showing up willing to participate in one, and both parties are willing to step out of that? Because that's possible too.
Absolutely. So when you talk to people about that, how receptive are they?
Very receptive. And I think that, working with you, David, I really became more comfortable with authentically speaking my voice and not worrying about what will the legal market say about this, what will all the other people in the industry say about it. And I actually really enjoy stepping into the fact that at heart, I'm a challenger. I like to challenge the status quo, and I like to challenge people's thinking. And I think that's what was like very attractive for us with working with you. And, I think that when you give somebody love in that conversation and they can feel it, even when you're speaking to them in a very matter of fact, direct way that nobody's ever spoken to them before, they are able to receive it. It's what I witnessed over and over again with people going up to the mic and speaking to you. I mean, you said to me some things that nobody's ever said to me before. Like at some point, I think at the mic, you said to me, "You're not that special." And it was the best thing anybody's ever said to me, right?
Yeah.
And I want to pay that forward because it changed my life, and it's hopefully changing the lives of my children, and it enriched my marriage. And if I now have this audience of people coming and sitting in front of me, and I feel like I have the antidote to their disease, which is bring some self-awareness to this, have some more accurate thinking, look for the truth instead of the voices in your head, that would be such a waste not to use it. But I really think that when you speak to people with love, truly, like they feel the love coming out of your heart and they feel how much care you have for them, and that you're not after them signing up with you, just, taking you. I'm really more excited about sending somebody away to therapy than them having another divorce client. They really feel that. Then they're much more receptive. And hopefully our messaging out there in the world is doing a good job of pushing away anybody that wouldn't be able to listen to it anyway.
Yeah. And, really, how many people are lucky enough to have, or fortunate enough to have, somebody in their life to tell them the truth when they're going through something like that, instead of people picking sides?
Yes.
And just holding to that side when you need blatantly somebody to tell you the truth at that moment in your life before you make a decision that's going to have massive impact in a way that could be avoidable.
I mean, talk about our culture and society. I mean, on one side, we have men who are not being given permission to go and have this incredible vision. On the other end, you have women being told, "You can do it on your own. You got this, girl. You don't need him." And I'm sorry, I think that's all crap. Of course you can do it. You can do it. But should you, when you don't have to, when you can actually like make a partnership work? And I think that it would be refreshing for women to hear something different than just constantly pounding into them to be more masculine and go out there and do it on their own. It would actually be more beneficial to them if they saw the power in their feminine side and leaned into that. Because a lot of my clients are female, and especially the clients who this book speaks to are female. And I think that a lot of the patterns that I had to uncover to realize, like, it's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to ask for help. And you can be challenged on the mindset of go harder and go bigger and be stronger is not always the answer. And unfortunately, we have a high divorce rate because that's what women are being told. And on the other end, men are being told, provide for your family, shut up about your desires. So we're doing this.
Where can they get the book?
It's going to come out on Amazon, and it will be also on our website at atldivorcegroup.com. And like I said, if anybody's following any of your stuff, this is basically taking your material and applying it to how to work on your marriage.
Fantastic. Well, I'll make sure that we'll put a link in there for it. Are they going to do a pre-order on that?
Yes, we probably will. We haven't announced the launch date yet. It's looking at early November, but I will have all that all over my social media on Facebook or Instagram. If they follow me on Sara Khaki, then they'll be able to get that information.
You going to do podcasts on it?
I do. I have a podcast called Happily Ever After Divorce Podcast. And, probably every other episode you're mentioned. So, basically this book takes a lot of the great messages from the podcast and makes it, turns it into 10 chapters that you can follow as a formula.
That's fantastic. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations
Thank you
to both of you. Yeah, anytime. Thank you for doing this. It was an amazing gesture. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Our pleasure.
Yeah, this has
all
been
right.
amazing. Thank you for guiding us through our journey of life.
My pleasure, both of you. Love you guys. You guys are amazing. Thank you. Thanks for listening to the Successful Mind Podcast. If you like what you heard and you want to learn more, go to lifeisnowinc.com.